I actually have just been talking for 5 minutes by myself, thinking I was live and I wasn't. Waiting for the incomparable Victoria Glam to show up. Friday night for me, Friday lunchtime for her over in Louisiana. And today we are going to be answering your PMU questions. So, bit of a rewinder. Oh, here she is. Hello.
How's it going?
I can't hear you.
How about now?
Nope, can't hear you. Unless it's my volume that's not on.
How about now?
Try again.
Now? What the
No.
fuck?
You can hear me right though?
Yep.
You can hear me okay, can't you?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
You're frozen as well, Vic. Maybe
How about now?
yeah, I can't hear you though.
It says that my
Oh.
mic is working.
No, it's me.
I
It was me. It was me
was in
all
all my
along.
settings.
Yeah, you're like, what? Sorry for doing that to you. It was me. I had a microphone plugged in, so I couldn't hear you out of the speaker. So I was just saying that we had hello, bold and trendy, Denny Ray. I was just saying that we had a Facebook group that I started originally off the back of this YouTube channel because there were so many people contacting me for advice, for help, and it felt like a really nice place to start to build a community where people could trust the advice. And then as it grew, it took on a life of its own, and actually it became a place where I didn't feel that people were getting good advice, nor were they getting good community, which is why we've decided to take, a different approach and actually answer people's questions live.
Yeah, I think that this is a much more direct way to be interactive with people who have real questions. It's a lot more difficult sifting through post after post after post in a Facebook feed. And by the way, I know I've said this a lot of times, but there's always somebody who needs to hear it. When you go into a Facebook group full of 1,000 people or 20,000 people, and you say, "What color should I use?" Whatever, I like to compare that to walking into Walmart and screaming, "Should I invest in this stock?" And somebody says, "Yeah." And you're like, "Okay, then I'm gonna do it." You have no idea who the person is who's answering you or if they're qualified to answer that question.
Yeah, this is something that, because I know Carla's a good friend of both of ours, Carla Ricciardo, and she said to me, the people that you need to take advice from, most of the time are so busy that they're not going to be in there that much.
That's true. That is super true. Because Carla is who I would ask, and I know that I have to message her. I can't just tag her on Facebook and hope she sees it later.
No, exactly. So the idea was that we were going to start our email lists where we actually send people advice weekly that they can, actionable advice, where we go into detail on how to build their PMU skills, the PMU businesses. There will be a link below. And I'll make sure that Victoria's the link is in my description as well. And also, I've been asking questions on there, so have you, to see what people actually need help with, because I felt like the thing with Facebook is the reach is so terrible that we wouldn't even see half the posts anyway.
That's true. And people couldn't see ours. So even if we wanted to give a free lesson or to do a live in our Facebook group, most people are not going to see it.
Yeah. So we actually asked people to send in their questions about permanent makeup, about either business skills, anything you're struggling with, and would answer them live. And you can keep emailing them to us, and you can keep getting advice from us. So my first question that I've not written down the names, I'm really sorry, is picking colours for higher Fitzpatrick skin.
Ooh,
Do you find that
a
difficult?
delicate subject.
Mm-hmm.
That's a delicate subject because a lot of people almost want to. It's not that they want to gatekeep the information, but when they're explaining, that's certainly what it sounds like. They're saying, "This is an advanced technique. If you haven't trained in it, you shouldn't be trying it. I'm not going to give you the answer because you need to get that in a course, and I'm not going to take on the liability." It sounds like gatekeeping, but the truth is, there's a lot of science that goes behind it, and I can't give you that in a Facebook post.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no one size fits all. We can sort of generalize a little bit, but I think that that's also a little bit crap for permanent makeup artists, because Fitzpatrick skin is all right, it may behave differently to some paler skin, but you can't just gatekeep that and go, right, I'm sorry, I can't do any permanent makeup on anyone with high, melanin content in the skin, because that's like, well, that's not fair.
Right. And it feels almost like you're being discriminatory if someone walks in your shop and you're like, "Sorry, you're black." I would never say something like that. It's my responsibility. Just because your skin is different than mine or behaves different than mine to different stimulus doesn't or heals differently, doesn't mean that I'm excused from going to learn about it.
Yeah, yeah, and I've learned about it in a lot of detail, and I'm forever adding to that. So this is it's quite a tricky one, but what I would say is there is a generalization. I certainly thought when I was starting out that a lot of people with a lot of melanin were warmer. What I've
Oh,
learned as I've
really?
gone along is warm skin doesn't really exist.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Yeah.
You
Also, I had a big fear when I was seeing higher Fitzpatrick come back healed that I hadn't implanted any color, and I didn't realize that that skin takes a little bit longer to regenerate itself in terms of color.
Yeah. Shall I tell you a story? It was someone, oh, I don't mind saying who it was because she said it publicly. So I think, well, if you
Oh,
say it publicly, it's kind of okay. But it was, yeah, it
fair
was
enough.
Karen Betts, and I don't know if she did it or it was someone she knew did it, but she put some brows on somebody with high melanin content. And this lady came back after sort of 6 weeks and said, "There's nothing there, there's no brow." And after 6 weeks, they re tattooed her. And
Oh
then
no.
and then I don't think it was Karen. It was someone that she'd heard about. And then the original color came through, and
Right.
so this woman had two sets of brows, two visible sets of brows, and four tails. So absolutely, it's definitely with high melanin content in skin, you need to leave it longer to heal because the results can take so much longer to show, and that's the same for lips, brows, and
Yeah.
also um, aggravating the skin. If you think of any skin, so if you pick a spot or scratch yourself, I've actually gouged my own forehead last night accidentally. Gouged myself. How long would that take on your skin to go back to normal if you picked a spot?
5 to 7 days.
Really, mine's months.
Really?
Months, yeah, months. If I pick a spot before it's
If I leave it
invisible.
alone.
Oh no, if you pick it, then I'm talking months before it's completely invisible, and it's kind of the same thing with when you sort of aggravate the melanin, it makes it darker. So that's why people can have that
Right.
healing thing where they go, "Oh my god, it's made everything darker," especially lips as well.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that it is more advanced if you've not had that in your basic training. But I would just say that basically as well that most people are cooler and they're going to pull cooler. If they in the brows they're going to pull grayer, so you will need to modify more,
Oh
especially if
yeah.
you go for the organics.
When I first got started, I was confusing like a ruddy skin complexion, like lots of broken capillaries at the surface of the skin. I was confusing that for warmth in the skin. And of course, it's dramatically the other way around.
It's like the coolest skin you'll work
Yeah.
on.
So it was helpful to find someone who could explain that to me because when I first got started in permanent makeup, my original class was very basic, very generic, and like no hate to that educator. I love her. Her name's Lisa. She's great. I think that I was just one of the first classes that she had put together, so she was kind of workshopping what she could fit in what time frame. This was years and years ago. But yeah, Lisa did a great job with what she had, right? But I
Mhm.
I certainly did not understand color theory whatsoever, and I left knowing that I didn't understand at all, and I was a babe in the woods lost.
Yeah, I think it's coming back to me as well on the emails that that's the thing people are struggling with the most, and it just blags the head completely. I it clicked for me, and then I've never struggled with it. I can accurately predict the results. But the first thing that I learned, and this is a generalization, and it's hard to give generalizations, but no one is really particularly warm. If you're seeing red in the skin, it's not warmth. It's
It's blood
usually,
vessels.
yeah, it's blood vessels and it's or damaged skin, which pulls all the cool notes out of the pigment. So they're gonna be the ones that are gonna go great. And I can think of an example of when I saw a woman and she was incredibly tanned on the sunbed all the time. She was like orange brown, but it was tanned. And I was like, well, she's warm. Look at her. That color is a warm color. It's orangey brown. And I put some cool pigment on her, not really cool, but cool pigment on her, and they came back grey. Perfectly
Well,
healed,
yeah.
gorgeous strokes, but they came back grey. And I had to modify them then, but I couldn't work it out. I'm like, why? And it's because she's sun damaged. She's not warm. She's sun damaged. So
Yeah,
sun
and I
damaged
get a
skin,
lot
yeah.
of that. I get a lot of sun damaged skin here in the South. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, you will do, especially, and you get. I remember Mary Richardson saying that in Colorado, because everyone's outside mountaineering. She said it's full of that, and it's going to be really, really cool skin. So those things are just things to take into account. The higher the melanin, a lot of the time, you're going to pull grayer, and so you just need to modify a little bit. But modification is such a huge subject; we can't really coach it to proper levels on a YouTube live. I think it's something that if people don't get, really invested in like mentorship or an advanced course is definitely your best bet.
I think so too. I have a question for you. Do you want to do we didn't discuss this beforehand. Do you want to do all of the skills questions first and then do a second separate for mentorship, or do you want to go back and forth?
I think let's go back and forth with marketing skills, because because you're not telling me that the people that are struggling with color theory are not also struggling to get clients.
No, of course they are.
So
Um,
I think we're going to be hitting a lot of the same people anyway.
Probably so. So I went through my email list as well, and I asked for questions. Back when I first started my email list, I asked for questions, and I was just kind of highlighting, okay, I get this one over again, over again, over again. In particular, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to post. And so they're just posting before and afters. They post them all the time, before and after, before and after, before and after, just an after, but not healed results, immediate afters, because that's the only two pictures they take during the service, before and after. And that's it. And they're thinking, what else do I possibly post? Here's the thing about posting before and afters. I hear this all the time. And when I just type in PMU or microblading or browse on Instagram, if I find someone who has less than 10,000 followers, just a regular permanent makeup artist who just does the service, not an educator, not a world speaker, whatever, because those are always like high level with a crazy camera and photo retouching and all that. Just regular people like you and I who open up a business and then open an Instagram account. As I scroll their feed, all I'm seeing is before and afters. That's it.
Yeah.
So this is a very prevalent problem, but it's nice that people are also asking the question. The problem is that if all you ever post is before and after, before and after, before and after, and you're just a normal permanent makeup artist doing your job day in and day out, no photo retouching, no special anything else, you look like everybody else.
It's so
I
true.
cannot tell a difference between your Instagram and her Instagram and her Instagram. So this is where you're going to run into the problem where prospective clients are looking at work and they see yours and they see hers and they look the same. So she's going to DM you and she's going to say, "How much?
How much?
How much? Price?"
Or HM, as I got the other day.
Oh,
HM. Like, couldn't even
HM.
be bothered to spell the words out.
HM. I would have thought of the store, H&M. Yeah, so if you can't figure out a way to set yourself apart, what you need to do is you need to think about your favorite client who has ever walked through the door, your favorite client of all time. And you need to think about why she likes you and why you like her. And then when you're creating content for your social media, whether that's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or wherever you want to post content, that content needs to speak to that person. Each piece of content should be like a lighthouse that this person can see through a sea of a whole bunch of before and afters, something that speaks to them and their biggest problem. And I'll just tell you now, spoiler alert, no one's biggest problem is that they do not have enough hair in their eyebrows, because that's not a real problem.
We
What
need to
happens
go
if you have no
deeper.
eyebrows?
Yeah.
What happens if you have no eyebrows? Nothing. You look surprised all the time. That's it. That's not their real problem. I actually have a video coming out either this Monday or next Monday that addresses exactly what to do in that situation. So I won't spoil it for you or drone on and on about it. But you have options besides before and afters, and this is actually going to help you in your sales process to get less. How much? What's the price? Just tell me how much it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue there is that most people as well, they don't seem to want to narrow down who they're sort of targeting, because essentially that is, we are targeting people so that we're going after a specific client. And I think that what the myth that everyone has is that doing that is going to water down how many people they see. Well, I don't just want to see those people. I'll see anyone. I'll see
Right.
anyone who will pay me. But actually, by not speaking to by not sort of targeting who you're speaking to, you don't have a message.
Well, right. I mean, when you're speaking to everybody, you connect with no one. It's like they
Mhm.
say, at least in the South, I don't know about other places because I don't know how prevalently you guys swim. But here, all summer long, pools are the only real place to go. And everyone says if everybody's watching the kids, nobody's watching your kid. Just know that when you're talking to everybody, you are not making a connection with anyone. You're not actually delivering your messaging to anybody. So by saying I don't want to isolate one particular client and alienate other people, you think that you're doing a good thing, but what you're actually doing is just having nothing, no characteristic that's identifiable about you. So
Yeah.
again, you're just lost in a sea of her, who charges the least.
And also, I think that particularly on Instagram, the problem is that everyone can look so generic because they're using the same logos and the same writing. And now the problem on Instagram is that they're all using the same audio and the same,
Yeah,
oh gosh, this worked well for them, so I'll copy it. And it's like there seems to be so much less of people's real true identities coming through in the content, which is something that I know that me and you find very frustrating.
definitely. And Instagram has set it up that way. Instagram, just so you guys know, anybody watching this, just so that you are aware, Instagram is actively working against you on purpose. When something is free, you are the product. So, right now, Instagram is finding themselves in kind of a crisis moment where they're saying, look, advertisers are not buying the way they used to. And Meta got in all that trouble for the way that they were collecting data and selling it to these advertisers. So now your ads don't even go as far as they used to, so they've turned on their users and now they're saying, how can we make money out of them? Everybody saw 2 months ago or whatever it was, I don't know, 2 months ago, I think, where they were workshopping this idea that they were going to start a tiered monthly subscription fee to have your stuff seen. They were going to charge $99 or $150 or $350. And then after the first month or 6 months or something, it was going to go up for each of those prices. And that was just to make sure if somebody steals your account, you can get it back, and to make sure that people can see your content. I'm not paying $500 a month so that people can see content that
Yeah.
I'm already making.
We need to differentiate as well. This isn't paying for ads to be put in front of customers. That it's not targeted. It's not put in front of your ideal. Like I saw a fidget spinner the other day, and I'm like, yeah, they know me.
They
they
know
they
me.
know they know. I'm like, I want that. This is not. This is just to be seen. This isn't even to be seen necessarily by prospective clients.
Yeah, well, everyone had the same reaction that you and I are having right now of like, no, I'm not paying that.
No.
So what did Meta do? They said, great, well, then no one can see your content. How about that? And now you get 200 views.
Yeah,
Now
and
you
so
get 200
everyone's having
views.
to work harder to get the same make the same kind of waves that they did before, and that's a lesson that we teach a lot. Is that you can't, when somebody else owns your traffic, you're in big trouble because if they turn the traffic off, where are your clients coming from?
Exactly. Exactly right.
Yeah. So when we're talking about what to post, I think the first lesson is to narrow it down and really try and speak to who your speak to your favorite client directly.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not say a name.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to call the person by name in your content, but you have to know a few things about that person. Like I said, I've got an entire instructional lesson coming out about this either Monday or next Monday. I think it might be a week from this Monday that this video comes out, but you don't want to miss it because this is going to tell you step by step how to figure out who yours is and then what to do with that information, which is really important. But in the meantime, while you're still getting all these price shoppers, probably my next number one question, if they were neck and neck for number one, would be how to respond to people who say, how much? Price. Katie, how do you usually respond to that question?
To be honest, I don't respond that well to it because I'm so targeted with who I speak to. That usually comes from. I mean, there's different. We're going into different kinds of traffic now, aren't we? That your earned
Right.
traffic, your paid traffic, and the different traffic. So generally, I'll get how much from ads because that's what we call colder traffic. They've not been
Same.
nurtured by me. They've not seen my content for a while. They've not got used to me. It's not spoken directly to them because that they've been left out of that process. So that's usually my colder traffic. And to be honest, for me, it's a way of weeding people out that I'm not that bothered about spending my time on. Like
Yeah.
they're generally not going because if their only concern is price, they're not going to come to me.
That's true, and honestly, I'm in no race to the bottom here. I don't want to justify my price. I don't want to lower my price. I'm not going to run a sale, and that's what everybody who's gonna run a paid ad for you wants to do. First thing they're gonna do is they're gonna say, "Okay, so we're gonna take $50 off or $100 off. We're gonna call it a special. We're gonna say it's a limited time only offer," and then they use the same copy that they use on 1,400 other marketing, clients of theirs, all in the same industry, maybe even in your town, some of them, and they're going to slap that on the bottom of a basic before and after photo, and they're going to run it for $100 a day on Meta. And everybody who responds is going to say, "How much? How much?
Hmm.
What do you charge? How much is this?
Yeah.
Well, why you charge that much? Somebody else charges less." Like, meh. If I were starting my permanent makeup career all over and I had no real nurturing content and I were a brand new baby artist who could only post before and afters or pictures of me practicing or pictures of me holding a certificate, and I was still getting that question pretty often, the first thing I would do is start making tons of educational content, because when you are the educator, you are the authority, and you're far less likely to be price shopped because people see your value right away. The second thing that I would do is I would answer that question in this way. And if you want to watch this live again and slow me down to 0.5x or something so that you can transcribe every single word, go for it. You can use this word for word. Are you ready? How much? Hey, that's a great question. I would actually love to answer that for you, but I have a couple of questions first to be able to figure out an accurate price point for you. Have you ever had your brows done before? What's your biggest complaint about your brows? What are you looking to change about your brows? Can you send me a picture of your full face in natural lighting with no filter and no makeup so I can see the area? That'll help me to better assess which modalities you are a candidate for, and then I can get you pricing. And if they cannot figure that out because they give you the old boomer selfie, which is one of these,
Yeah, we do get those.
then you say, I actually think that it would be more helpful and more beneficial for both of us to have a really clear idea on what it is that you're needing and what your expectations are and what results could be if you could come in for a completely free consultation. And I don't charge for consultations, I simply put them during someone's numbing time. So
Hmm.
you can come in for 10 or 15 minutes, and while some my client right now is numbing, so I lose nothing out of this. Either you show up or you don't show up, and if you do, maybe I make a sale. And I'm going to look at your skin. I'm going to actually map out your brows. I'll fill one in and then give you the mirror so you can see what your brow naturally looks like and what it looks like filled in. And I'll talk to you about what's available to you. You're not a microblading candidate, but maybe you can have nano brows, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a way of nurturing that client and taking them step by step through the process, even though you weren't able to do that on your social media. I hope that helps. Rewind it if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, I will ask those questions for how much. I have saved questions in, for that's another thing that I would do is have saved responses.
Yeah.
Particularly if you run in any kind of ads, I have saved responses because it just cuts down time, because you're going to have to weed through with cold traffic. You're going to have to weed through a lot of rubbish responses to get to the good ones, and there are good ones in there, but you're going to have to weed them out. And how much generally for me is a sign that that I'm going to have to do a lot of nurturing, or just send those questions, or weed those kinds of people out. So, but I
Yeah.
don't get it in other places,
I
because
don't
probably
either. I only
yeah,
at this point, I only get it from ads like you were saying. When you said that, I was going,
yeah,
"Mhm,
yeah.
exactly,
I don't get
exactly."
it. I don't get people on Instagram saying how much. They generally, if they're already sold, they're already sold. Just generally because of the nurturing that they'll have had through the kind of content that I make.
Yeah, I agree. Hit me with another, skills question.
Okay, we've got somebody who wanted to know the needles and techniques for older skin.
Oh.
Um, yeah, there's not a lot of people talking about older skin. Now, I would say as well that I see a lot of older clients. Do you?
Oh, it's my favorite, and I don't call them old, they're
Mature,
mature.
mature, mature.
My
Yeah.
favorite client is between the age of 45, which I don't think is that necessarily that mature. You can still find some pretty, healthy skin there. 45 to 65 is my favorite client.
Yeah. Um, but as the skin does mature, particularly in women at that sort of 45 and upwards age, the skin does change,
Slows
and it
down.
and it, it thins, and it's there that there can be a problem with oversaturation, and also blowouts going too deep with it, because it will not be as robust and able to take some of the techniques and some of the needles that younger skin can take. So instantly, if I've got a more mature, and I'm talking about someone who has got skin that is visibly thinner, wrinkled, then I'm going to start probably with a 3RS. Wouldn't even touch a liner, just because it's going to be much easier. Some people's skin, you can just put a needle to it and you can see it kind of disintegrate. So you're going to have to be
Yeah.
really careful with that. Also, I'm a big fan of pointillism, which is dotting, because you dot in and out of the skin, whereas like things like circles, even though that's still quite a gentle movement, or pendulum or whip shading, there's movement on the skin. Whereas if you're dotting in and dotting out, there's no movement of that needle. You're just in and out. So it's the most delicate technique to get color in, and I generally would work in one pass, in, out, so that I'm
Yeah.
not going over and over and over that skin.
I would start with a shader also. And I would probably use a glide.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
anything to help the skin. So, and you've got
I
to just be really nurturing to it.
Yeah, and I would probably, depending on the skin type, I might push them out further than 8 weeks also.
Oh yeah, definitely. I also do a lot of dilution for my more mature clients, because the skin is so much thinner. They grab onto the pigment more, so you can easily oversaturate. Also, with it being thinner, you're closer to the vascular system. It looks cooler. So just be a little bit careful that they can have a tendency to look a bit blue, especially if you're using a lot of carbon. So I
Yeah.
steer more towards inorganics, mineral pigments for older clients. There you go. That was a lot of info on it.
See, we can do a lot of nurturing here.
That
Um,
would have
what
taken me half an
else?
hour to write in a Facebook group. That.
Yeah, to actually type it all out is so much, and then somebody is, of course, gonna come along and either disagree with you or with no science to back it up. They can't tell you why they disagree. They'll just tell you, "Well, my master told me that I could touch the skin again at 4 weeks." And it's like,
Yeah, but you can't. So
"You can if you want to, but you're
yeah, of course you
gonna,
can. Yeah.
if you wanna give her scars, go for it."
Yeah, but the skin will not have gone through enough of a regeneration process. I mean, on anyone, it's like 8 to 10 weeks. People with higher up the fits scale, because of the reasons we mentioned earlier, you want longer. But 10, 12 weeks is great on people. Older people,
Yeah.
they need more time. The metabolism is slowed, so it takes longer for everything to heal.
Yeah. Another one. Oh, how often should I be posting? Everybody asks me this damn question. How often should I be posting? Okay, well, here's the answer. I don't know, and neither do you.
Mhm.
First of all, where are you posting? Where are you posting? Secondly, what are you posting? And who's your audience? Who's watching your stuff, Because different people have different pockets of time that they can be scrolling on their phone. If she's a 9 to 5 girly, maybe she clocks off at her desk and is scrolling on her phone, or maybe she's actually really busy and in meetings all day and she can't look at your stuff until 7 p.m. And by then, if it hasn't done anything in the first hour of content on Instagram, then it's dead in the algorithm and she's never even going to see it to begin with. So you want to post when your ideal client is most likely online, but you need to know who that client is first. And then it also depends on where you're posting, because on YouTube, it doesn't really matter if you're posting like shorts. On TikTok, I mean, I'm not super familiar with that algorithm. I've had a couple million view videos, but that was when the algorithm was wide open. It's changed now, so I'm not really sure
It's
when you
not one that I can figure out that easily, and I don't know anyone else that
well,
has
Meta
figured it out.
either.
Huh?
Meta can't figure it out either. Otherwise, they would be competing much better.
Yeah, that's the one that seems to be a bit of a mystery, and some things really fly for me on TikTok, and some things don't.
Yeah,
It's not my focus though.
me either.
I'm kind of a person that likes to. I think you focus, because it's so hard to. I'm not saying don't have them, but it's harder to
Well, you got
focus
to
on
know
five,
You
six
gotta know
things
your
at once.
audience.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's there's like a little lag, so I'm sorry. I keep talking over you. You have to know your audience though. So like my Miss Brenda, my 45 to 65-year-old lady, she's not spending all her time on TikTok.
No.
Maybe a couple people do, but most Miss Brendas are not spending their time on TikTok. So that's a waste of my time. But there is an analytics section on TikTok that you can go into if you are a TikTok creator, which is like a designation, just like you can have a business profile or a creator profile. TikTok, you can do that too. There's an analytics thing where you can go and see what time most people are viewing your stuff. And maybe you could try and play around with that and target it. Instagram has the same thing. They have analytics you can go and look at as a creator and see what time your audience is usually online. It's not super helpful. It's big blocks that are almost exactly the same on different days of the week. So it's like, okay, I should just take a guess, I guess.
Yeah.
But just
YouTube
playing around
analytics are
with
the
it.
best. Oh, I love my
They really
YouTube analytics. I'm a hopeless addict. I had to stop. We were made, weren't we, to stop.
yeah.
I did not like that.
Listen, I'm always down for a challenge. I don't often turn down bets or challenges or dares, but that one was one that I was like, you know what? I even told Shay, she was like, "Oh, are you back on the internet? Are you back?" And I said, "Listen, Katie begged, she pled our case and she was like, "Look, we've got to get back we've got to get back to the things that we love." And I said, I think we made our point and we're ready to kind of get back in the swing of things. And also, a lot of my friends exist only in my pocket. You are, I don't know how many thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away, 1,000 miles away. I
Thousands
don't
for
know,
sure. Yeah, a few
thousands of
thousand.
miles. Yeah. So I want to talk to you all day. I want to be back on my phone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, we played our case, and but I was like, right, I'll just try and not be on my analytics. But YouTube analytics are really in depth. You can find out what cities people are watching you on, at what time, what room they were sitting. No, I'm joking, but
What
that
room they
that
were sitting,
really does analyze
how
people's
much money's in
behavior.
their bank account,
You
what they
can
ate for
see when they
dinner.
went, yeah, I'm bored now, I'm gone. I'm literally watching people do that now. So yeah, YouTube analytics are great. So yeah, you need to know your audience, who you're speaking to, and where do those people hang out.
Yeah. You need to know your audience. That's always the one band, one sound answer that I'm going to give you. What should I be posting? What time should I be posting? How often should I be posting? Where should I be posting? Well, who are you talking to? We have a question in the comments for you from
Yeah,
Miss
does
Andrea Molina.
Hello, Andrea. Andrea's been emailing me as well. I think she
Oh,
liked the colour theory. I remember everything. I remember everyone,
you
Andrea.
really do. I have
Say.
a question for you off camera.
Okay.
I can't remember that I know you will.
Yeah, but I know. Yeah, Andrea's been emailing me. I've seen her emails. Does alopecia skin need the same amount of skin to heal in between treatment 1 and 2? So alopecia skin, it depends. I mean, everybody is different, and alopecia. You guys look like 39.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I don't know whether that's a age 39 or like a gang. I don't know. Alopecia skin. Alopecia skin does behave a little differently. I find it harder to implant into. It generally feels a little bit kind of rubbery, and I would leave it a little bit longer. It's going to be more unpredictable. Um,
Just enough, Katie. Just enough.
it's going to be a little bit more unpredictable so I would leave it a little bit longer. I also find it, yeah, it's harder to implant into. And retention might not be good because it also comes with like, why does that person have alopecia? And a lot of the time it comes from immune disorders. And if it's an immune disorder, then that's still going to have a bearing on the healing as well. So usually alopecia comes with other things as well, reasons as to why it's there. Also, I find the skin behaves a little differently because it tends to have a little bit more protein in it. So yeah, I would leave that a little bit longer, and I'd rather err on the side of caution and maybe have to do 3 sessions on someone with alopecia skin. I also don't find that hair strokes heal that great on them. But
Do you
you
think
can
that's
get better.
because of the do you think that they heal a little less crisp, those strokes, because there's extra protein in the skin, making it a
It
little
could be
thicker?
down to that, and again, though, I usually alopecia is because of an immune disorder. Your
Right.
skin, your body is actively sort of killing its own hair. So it could be down to that as well. So yeah, generally when your body's on got an immune disorder, it's on high alert, and so if you put foreign bodies in like pigment, it's going to kick it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Andrea, I hope that was helpful for you. It was definitely complex, comprehensive. Another one that I had was, oh, can you check my people say like, can you check my prices out, or are my prices set right, that kind of thing. But essentially it comes down to, I set my prices based on what other people in town decided to price themselves as.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. Yes, you do want to be competitive in your market. You want to be comparable to what other people are charging. But the truth of the matter is, you have no idea if that person's pricing is actually profitable for them. And I would actually place $5 to say that I bet that person doesn't know if they're profitable either. So,
Yeah.
to know if you are priced correctly, you first have to know your own numbers. So, you need to know what your overhead is, and you need to know what all of your non negotiables are, things that you will have to pay for. So, there are hard overhead, like your mortgage or your rent. Then there's things that ebb and flow every month, like the electricity bill or utility bill is going to be a little different every month. But overall, you need to be able to put all of that, your insurance on the building, insurance on liability, all of the stuff that goes on your tray. So your kind of soft expenses like gauze, cotton rounds, even down to pigments and numbings, all of that stuff, you need to know what it costs you to provide the service. And then from there, you also need to factor in your own pay, because you can't
People
rob the
don't.
business to pay yourself. They
Yeah.
don't think of that. And
No.
when they're setting up pay for employees, a lot of people will say, well, especially employees, will say, well, she doesn't even want to pay me 50%. Can you believe that? She's taking 60% or 70%. Well, babe, depending on her overhead, that might not even be fair to her, because three people eat off of that one procedure: you, your employee, and your business. And
Yeah.
if you're not going to pay yourself, you're only going to pay the employee in the business, then why are you in business? What's the point? She could just
Mhm.
go and manage herself.
Yeah, I always say, "Did you factor in your profit margin?" And people go, "Oh, what?" And it's like, well,
Yeah.
why did you start a business if you didn't want to make profit? I mean, profit's the whole point of running a business. Otherwise, you're not making any money.
I don't know
And most,
anybody else. I don't know anybody else who goes to work and doesn't want to get paid or expect to get paid.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, if you don't factor all those things, you don't work all that out, and most people don't even know. Let's be honest. Most people, if because I didn't when I started, so
Oh
it's not
yeah.
like I was any different, and it's not like I set my prices any differently. It was, I'll go around what everybody else does, and I'll go somewhere in the middle. Don't want to be the cheapest. Don't want to be the most expensive. Um, I was the same, but and actually knowing your trade cost is really important. But actually knowing, yeah, all the other costs as well, and then factoring in things like your sick pay, because
Yeah.
if you're sick, you don't get paid. Your pension, because that's all part of, paid in over here it is anyway. People earn pensions through working. Well, self-employed people don't. So you've got to factor all those things in them, and most people have never even given that a single thought.
Yeah, most people have never given it a thought, and when they do, when they're confronted with it, like, okay, well, what do your numbers look like? What's your overhead look like? How much do you owe every month to keep the business solvent? They're intimidated, and
Mhm.
they shut the conversation down, and they plug their ears, and they try not to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, but also I think that a lot of people are frightened of being too expensive because they're thinking, well, if I can't get clients, we've had it, because we mentor people and we'll talk to them about the prices and saying you should be charging more because you're not profitable at this level. But it's a fear that people won't pay it, and actually, the higher you put your prices, and if you're marketing yourself properly, you actually get a better standard of client as well.
You sure do. I was just thinking that. I was just sitting here thinking, like, yeah, but all those problems exist on the lower tier. Once you are mid tier or high tier for high ticket sales, you get a different set of problems. But in general, the kind of naggy problems go away.
Yeah, yeah. I would say that
Yeah.
it's the ones that the people that are the lowest prices that will give you the highest headaches.
And the reason for that, or one huge reason for that, is because people who can't actually afford the service, because it is a luxury service, people
Hmm.
who cannot actually afford the service will see the low ticket price and they'll think to themselves, I could make that work. And this becomes a stretch for them. They're really stretching their budget. And so they have all these hopes and dreams and all these ideas, which might not be necessarily set in reality. Like, I'm not planting brows on your face. It's not going to be 3D brow hair, It's not going to replicate makeup. It's underneath the skin. But it's not like they've been shopping this a long time. They just saw a sale price and said, I'm going for it. And so sometimes those expectations are set incorrectly. And this was a struggle for them. This was something that they saved up for and were really looking forward to. So there's more hopes and dreams kind of pinned on it. And it becomes an emotional situation versus just something that a purchase that we made. And I think that when somebody has the money to spend really comfortably and they say, "Oh, $600? Yeah, sure, here you go. And here's $100 tip." They were listening when you were getting them expectations because they weren't making an emotional purchase. They were listening. So their expectations are in the right place and it's a lot easier to manage. That doesn't mean that they're going to say, "Oh, well, whatever you do to my face, I don't really care. Do whatever you want." That doesn't mean that, but they are not in an emotional place and this doesn't make or break them. So it's
Yeah.
easier to manage those expectations.
Yeah, agreed. And also, I think that you attract those kind of clients generally through the content that you've been putting out. So you'll have
Oh,
nurtured them
absolutely.
through being an expert anyway. So you tend to attract a different kind of client. But I think a lot of people are scared of putting the prices up when they shouldn't
Oh,
be.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's easy. I can see how that happens too, because you kind of get stuck in a hamster wheel, right? Like all of your clients are telling you they really can't afford this or it's so expensive. And so you're thinking to yourself, if I put my prices up more, no one's going to pay it. And
Hmm.
actually, you're just looking at a different price tier. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
And
are
if you
people
think
in the
about
other
that,
price tier. You just
that's the
haven't met
same
them yet.
with clothing,
Yeah.
handbags, food. I like the top tier food. What can I say?
Girl, you guys don't even know. Okay, you don't even know. I can't afford to go out to eat with Katie. And by the way, I don't know why they do this. I don't know why, but the most expensive restaurants give you the smallest of like this was the size of her dessert the other day.
It
This
was
was
not. The
it.
dessert was quite big, actually. Thank you very much. The dessert was big. We shared it. Alice and I shared that.
You
But
Oh, okay. Don't that doesn't help your case because Alice can't eat more than a teaspoon at a time.
it was great. But yeah, but I see the value in that. Other people wouldn't, and that's fine. But I do. That's my thing. And
Oh,
other
I see the
people.
value.
Yeah, but so other people might want designer clothes, or so you're going to find it is just a different tier where people will see the value in it. So, and as long as you are attracting that kind of client, then that's great.
That was one of the first pieces of verbiage I learned to throw in when I was having those conversations with paid ads. So people who don't know me and don't know the value of the service that I'm giving, so they're just price shopping me. How much, how much, how much, how much. As I'm having these conversations, sometimes inevitably people will tell me, "Well, I just want to I don't want to waste our time. So just give me a ballpark price so I can know if I'm even in the neighborhood before we go through all of this answering questions or doing a consultation." So that tells me that you can't afford it and that's okay. But I'll go ahead and just tell you, it could be anywhere from $275 because if it's just an annual refresh, that's what I charge, up to $1,000. It really depends. And they say, "Well, that's too much money. That's so expensive." And I say, "I totally understand. And I appreciate you being honest with me. And I know that this might not be in your budget right now, but I don't want to tell them I know you're broke." So I say, "I know this might not be in your budget right now. A lot of times, everybody has different priorities. A lot of times you need to place a priority on something else right now. And if that's what you need to do, I'll be here when you're ready. And if not, I wish you best of luck finding somebody else who fits into the allotment you have in your budget for beauty services." That is a really nice way of saying you can't afford me and I get it. And I'm also not going to shame you for not being able to afford me. I think I've seen some other people do that on Facebook just a handful of times that it wasn't so delicate.
Yeah.
If you're broke, just say that.
Yeah, no, that's just rude, and and some people
It
really do
is.
just want to find out a price because some people are charging £150.
And
So
let me just say this on behalf of our broke Bethanies out there. You didn't have $275 to come and get your brows done. You didn't have it. You knew you didn't have it. And you still were interested in me and were interested in finding a way to make it work. So you wanted to know my pricing and you were interested in asking me questions about my service. And that was a bigger deal for you to try and put that money together than for somebody who says, "Oh, 600, sure, here's my card." So
mhm.
I want to say thank you for that. And just because I don't fit in your budget right now doesn't mean I'm not happy to accept you in the shop later when it is something that you can treat yourself to. So thank you for even attempting to trust me with your face because that's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we've all been in the position where, I mean, gosh, I remember COVID when I didn't work for nearly a year, where I couldn't afford a new mascara, let alone eyebrows. So
Yeah.
we've all been through that. I couldn't get my eyebrows done then. So, we've
I
all
think
been.
any entrepreneur has ups and downs and days when they're crying saying, "I haven't been paid in so long." So I feel it. I get it.
Yeah, completely. Well, I think I am no, there's somebody that wanted to know how to pick colours for ombre and lips, but again, that's probably too big a subject to, picking your pigments. You need to go down into the sort of scientific level of just my advice is always just get to know them, get to know exactly what's in them, because once you know that, you are in control. Because if you know
Right.
what's in them, you know how that behaves, and you know how that behaves in healed work. You have all the answers. So that's my thing. You do, because you'll look at it and go, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Because basically they can give them all posh names, but I look at them, see the CI numbers, and I know what it's going to do. I know whether it's going to separate out in time. I know whether all the titanium's going to surface. I know whether it's going to go grey from carbon, because I learned it, and that's something that obviously we can teach you. But that's more in depth. Pigments is such a huge thing, and so is color theory.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, without knowing the person that we're talking about, the client that we're talking about, I could never help you. I couldn't say, like, oh, this is the perfect color for ombre, because I have no idea what their skin is, what their hair color is, what their undertones are. What needle you're using.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel really bad by, because I can't give you at all a one size fits all, but because there isn't one.
Right.
Because there
Exactly.
isn't one. You need to understand skin types, color theory, how different skin reacts with different kinds of pigments. There is more coming out on my email list on that, on pigments modification. There's all sorts coming out, so there will be more info on that. But there isn't a one size fits all. I wish there was, but there isn't. And if you do
There
a one size fits all approach, you're gonna get terrible results.
there is not a one size fits all approach, but there will be a boot camp.
There absolutely will. And I think that we're going to focus on the questions that we get the most. And I think that pigments and color theory is the one that there's thousands of people that downloaded my color theory freebie. So that's what people need
It's
help
big.
on. So that's probably going to be something that we'll address in the boot camp.
Yeah. My last question that I get a whole lot, and it's not in these words, but if I were to summarize it based across, the 10 to 15 people who have asked this same question in different ways, is always, I don't know how to get people from liking a post to now on my books and through the door. And
Ooh.
I think that unfortunately, we just have to go right back to figuring out who we're talking to, because you don't talk to every person the same way. I don't talk to Katie, my best friend, the same way that I would talk to, if I ever met Katie's mother. I certainly wouldn't talk to you guys exactly the same way at all, especially with what I know about your mom. She's not as, chill as us. So, whereas I might say, like, Katie, what's up, bitch? Which I would never say, but if I were, it's the same general sentiment. I would certainly not say that if your mom walked into the room. Instead, I would say, what's your mom's name? I forgot. Let's call her Virginia.
Bobby.
Oh, Bobby. Okay. I didn't know if you wanted to out your mom's name. Hi, Miss Bobby. It's so nice to meet you. And I love everything. Your daughter Katie has told me so much about you. I just absolutely love your daughter. You did an amazing job raising her. Like, I'm a little ass kissing, but it's also true. And it's certainly from a place and a tone of respect and a little bit more formal versus the way that you speak with your friend. So the way that you're talking to prospects is going to be different depending on who that prospect is. If you show up as yourself and you're very casual and use casual tone and slang words and pop culture, and you are talking to people who are 35 to, I don't know, 25, somewhere in that younger category, then you're not going to speak prim and proper and use, like, punctuation.
Teacher speak.
Yeah, teachers speak complex language.
Complex language.
Complex language, you're not going to do that because it's going to feel like there is a wall up between the two of you. Whereas she really wants something that's a bit more accessible with you. She
Mhm.
wants a fuller relationship with you. So the way that you speak to that person, the way that you approach that person is going to be different than the way that you would approach Miss Brenda, my ideal client, who's 45 to 65. I'm never going to DM Miss Brenda and say, "What's up, bitch?" I'm never going to do that.
It was, yeah, same when I was nursing. You always knew, like, the older people I was always very much more respectful to, and then you had people that would be, I would, have a laugh with, because you basically want to make everyone feel great. But to make everyone
Yeah.
feel great and feel comfortable, then you're gonna have to change your behavior, unless you have, you're speaking to your ideal client. And I'm exactly the same. There's You want people to have a connection with you, and for some people that connection will be by being very respectful and very, they will feel comfortable with
Well,
that. And
that
for some
builds
people,
trust with some
yeah, and
people.
but for some people it might be too starchy and they don't feel heard.
Right. And I hear that a lot in my studio. People who are truly my ideal client will come to me from other studios, and I'm not knocking them because everybody is their own person, but they'll say, "Oh, I like how relaxed it is here. I like it's you feel at home, It doesn't feel sterile or like a medical place or something. People don't want that feeling." And then there are other people who have told me this place is run like a circus. Maybe they would be more comfortable in a more buttoned up environment with Ed Sheeran on a loop and sage green walls and, very buttoned up, like, offer you a glass of lime water. Like, I wouldn't, there are Diet Cokes in the fridge. Help yourself. Kick off your shoes
Yeah.
if you want to. It's very different. And some people will feel very comfortable in that environment. And some people will absolutely feel out of place in that environment. They want a more corporate spa like medical environment. So there's got to be, we always say there's enough clients to go around. There's a client for every artist. We need to have an artist for every client also. Not every
Mhm.
client wants the same thing that my ideal client wants.
And it's
So the
totally
way that you,
okay for people
yeah,
to not like you. It's totally okay for people to go. I remember someone saying about me, she's so great, honestly. She's so lovely. She's really good fun. She'll make you feel so relaxed. She's got the tunes on. She's got a bit of drum and bass on, because I find that, and my clients find that relaxing. And she showed her a video of me working, and I was kind of tapping my foot, and she went, absolutely not. No way. I'd be straight out of there. And so for what my client was like, it's a great experience. She was like, it looked awful, to her. And that's so and then that's okay. I was not remotely offended, because it's like that she needed somebody that wasn't me.
yeah, absolutely. And I thrive on it when people don't like me. Great. You just made this so much easier. So much easier. I don't mind telling clients, like, I don't think I'm the artist for you. I think there are tactful ways to say that, whether because they're asking for something ludicrous that I don't want to do, or I can tell that they have a million red flags and they're going to be a pain in the ass, or maybe I just know that they're not going to be happy with anything that I do. But for any of those situations, I know that I'm not for everyone and everyone is not for me. So I have no problem tactfully saying, you should go somewhere else. And there are a few different phrases that I use for that. And I usually help students kind of compose those text messages or emails, because you always want to have everything in writing so that people can't say you said something you didn't say. Um, but yeah, you speak to everyone a little bit differently than other people. So it's like case by case basis.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And actually, that's a big thing as well, is not taking every bit of work just because you're desperate.
Yeah, that's a quick way to having work out there that you're not proud of. And if you
Hmm.
don't want to put your name on it, I don't want you to put your name on it.
Hmm. Yeah,
The
yeah.
first time I told someone that, a client, I was very respectful. I was very deliberate with my words. I knew that it was a delicate situation because this lady was a little bit of a hothead. So I actually told her that I could tentatively put her down for XYZ date, and that I would double check it and I would get back with her. So the next day, I sent her a very well worded text message. I don't remember things because when you just said you were a nurse, that was the first I've heard of it. And I
What do you
know
mean
it's
the
not.
first you've
I
heard of
know
it?
it's not.
What do
I
you
know
mean?
it's but I remember typing this message out. I even remember where I was. I was sitting in my car. I was in the parking lot of a mall. That's how long ago this was. I was about to go inside the mall. And I wrote out the nicest text message where I was like, listen, I gave this so much consideration last night. I was really thinking very thoroughly about the things you asked for in our consultation. And if I'm very honest with you and with myself, I don't think that I have the tools and the ability to give you the results that you're looking for, but I think I know someone who can. And her name is, and she works at, and I'm happy to put you guys in a group message if you want and make the introduction, or just find the name of the salon for you and you can call yourself, blah, blah, blah. And really, this was a lady who was going to be an absolute pain in the tits, and I knew it. And I was sending her to someone who I thought deserved a headache. So the lady messaged me back, I didn't want you to do it anyway.
Yeah. Good.
And then about 2
Good
months
call.
later, after she had someone do her brows, about 2 months later, she messaged me and said, "Hey, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I really want you to fix my brows. I don't like them." I knew you weren't going to like them because nothing anyone does would you like. But you're her problem, not my problem. And bye.
Yeah.
You just gotta. But if you were to read that text back, if she showed that to anybody, she could never say that I was ugly to her or out of turn in any way.
Yeah. But definitely you made the right call. And I always
Oh,
think don't ignore your gut. So I'm out of questions for today.
I am
But
too. That was my whole list.
yeah, mine was here. Look. We had matching
Are they
post-it.
both purple?
Mine's pink.
We're very close.
We've swapped each other's colours because I'm purple, you're pink.
Oh, feels like a missed branding opportunity.
It does. I'll try harder next time. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. But remember, we are sending out weekly advice independently as well, so that you'll have more skills-based advice from me
Yes,
and from
and you'll
and from
definitely get
Vic.
some branding and some business, and you can always write my emails back. I wonder sometimes if people realize that. Like some people do. I get DMs and stuff, but I wonder if people think that this is just a mass email that I send out to thousands of people, and that if they emailed me back, it would go to a dead inbox. It doesn't. It
I
comes
drew
to
your
my
emails
email.
back. I
Yeah,
drew your emails back all the time. That's why I knew. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, we've been chatting.
Yeah, and I always enjoy engagement to know that I'm not talking to a brick wall. So you can join my email list at victoriaglam.com/free lessons, all one word, free lessons. And every Monday morning, my emails come out and they always have a lesson and usually also have a video to go along with it. So teaching a lesson and explaining something.
Yeah, and my email list will be left below, and we'll give you actionable advice that you can start to implement in your own businesses, so that you can actually see some movement in both your skills and your business. If you want further help, if you feel like you're ready to really level up your skills with some actual feedback and mentoring, then you can always book a call to speak to one of us about VIPMU, because we're helping hundreds of artists like yourself level up their skills and business.
And Katie, we should definitely do this again. So let's save up some more questions from our email lists and we'll meet right back here.
We will. Let's bring tequila next time.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Bye.
Bye.